Hey everyone, welcome to Knowledge is Key. I am your host, Kei Renee, and behind the camera, we have Disko, the greatest co-host.
There you go, co-host.
That's much better. That's much better.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys know, like we always say, no matter where you're tuning in from YouTube, if you're listening, whatever you're doing, we appreciate you guys for coming. So let's get some little things out the way that you know we got to pay our bills. So if you guys want to join our VIP club, you guys know you guys can always text the word knowledge to 21,000. Again, that is the word knowledge to 21,000, and that is how you get access to our shows early. You get access to our merch. You get access to the deals that we have to offer, and you get access to us. But aside from doing that, today we're gonna have an amazing show. We're gonna be talking all about, film and just how television impacts Black culture. And there's no one that I would want to do this than Miss Leah Daniels-Butler. She's here with us today. So let's give everyone a round of applause. So thank you, Leah, so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me,
Yeah.
Kira.
So today, it's February, Black History Month. And to me, television tells a story of what's going on in the world and stuff. And you've been a pivotal part of helping to shape and tell those stories by picking out characters and helping bring those stories to life for a very, very, very long time. Well, everyone, when I called you earlier and I was like, it's been a while, and you're like, yeah. And I think you've been a part of creating great stories for some time, and it's great stories that that kind of affected my childhood growing up, and it's been developing over the years. So for you, I just want to start off just talking a little bit about who you are. For anyone who's tuning in and they're like, who is this amazing woman sitting next to you? So if you could just say who you are and then what your role has been in television.
Okay, well, my name is Leah Daniels-Butler. I'm a casting director and producer. Mom, wife, my son Damari.
Hey, Mom.
This is his show. And I've been in the entertainment industry since 1991, maybe, I think. Yeah. 1990, 91. I moved to California in 89, so yeah, I would say probably about 90. So it's been a long time. I've been in casting pretty much the entire time I moved out here. For those of you who don't know, most people know what a casting director does, but we cast the characters on television and film. And it's more to just casting characters on television and film, obviously. You have to have a really good relationship with your director and the producers, so you can adequately find the right people for those roles. I have worked on films, television, some iconic projects from, I don't even remember so much stuff. I think my very first film credit, the one that I'm most proud of as an assistant, is
Can I say? Can I guess?
Yeah.
Cool Runnings.
No.
No?
But yeah, that is actually one of my credits as an assistant. But no, my first feature film credit as an assistant was CB4. Oh. CB4, and so that's how long it's been, and that was with Chris Rock. From there, I worked with Jackie Brown and Kim Harden. We worked on Friday, the original Friday.
My favorite.
Mm-hmm. That it was the best one.
That was.
What's the other one? Higher Learning. I'm just trying to think of some of the credits that I worked with Kim and Jackie. We should probably have my resume pulled up. That would have been.
Well, I got a whole list right here, so let's see if any of these count.
Okay.
I feel like I had to write all this stuff down because it's just so many of them. But these, I just wrote down the ones that
those
were
are more current.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like these are the ones that were just all my favorites. But let's go to my other list.
Those are some of the current ones. But anyway, for television, I worked on the Wayans Brothers. I worked on Friends. I worked on For Your Love. Just thinking about projects at Warner Brothers. And then from Warner Brothers, I went independent. And from independent, that's when I actually started my company, LDB Casting, in 2001. And from there is when I just really started, doing my own thing, and worked on the ATL partnered with Kim, and Biker Boys, and
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Furious. And so obviously, the credits got a little more mainstream and bigger budget projects as once I left and started my own company.
What was it about casting for you that made you want to get into the casting world?
Honestly, I don't know that I would be in casting if that wasn't the first thing that I tried. It was an easy transition because when I moved out here, I had an administrative background. So at that time, casting assistants, it was more administrative work. So everything you did was like on a typewriter, or we didn't have computers. Like the big thing was like a fax machine, like that. I remember like that being like the thing, the new way of communication between two people, or two different offices. So it was, because I had that background, it was sort of an easy segue for me to move into casting. I don't know. I mean, I love casting, don't get me wrong. It's like, obviously, something that I really enjoy doing. But I always encourage people when they first are, when you're first going into the business or being introduced to the business, I say try out everything, because you never know where you might land. Casting is cool. It certainly gave me a lucrative and career over the years. But again, I don't know that if I hadn't started there, that's where I would have ended up.
That's interesting. It's kind of like you started there and then you just kind of evolved.
Yeah, because it was just, it was an easy thing. It was something that I was good at, apparently. And so I just sort of built a career off of it.
Film, Black film. What right now, or what would you say, if you had to depict Black culture through an iconic film, what would that film be to you that represents like, okay, this is what the culture is?
Today, or
let's go
this
back.
Sort of started, I mean, for me, I think that would, you guys probably don't even know this movie, Sparkle.
I feel like I've heard of it.
Sparkle, well, they did a remake.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
He might have did but I think for me, that was probably the first movie that I saw that just was just like, oh my goodness, like there are these Black characters that weren't, your typical characters that you would see. They were 3 Black women, it was set in a period in the 60s, and it was right when I guess it was kind of like a take on the Supremes, if you will, that era. And they grew up in Harlem, and they were in the church, and it's very similar to the remake. Obviously the remake, the original is bomb.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of remakes, the original one is always like, I mean, I guess it's always a little bit different because it's the first time you got to see the story.
Yeah.
So then when you see the remake, you're looking for things that were in the original one, and then I feel like people kind of get like duped, and they feel like, oh, well, I didn't see this in the remake, so therefore it's not it because the original one had it.
Yeah, I mean, that for me is what shaped at least my view on cultural Black films.
Basically, it was more of the impact that it had at that time.
Yeah, I think for me that was, it had an, I mean, obviously I've been a movie buff. Like I probably could list old movies that you guys don't know anything about, like Carmen Jones and The Imitation of Life, and
I feel like I've heard of it. But,
all his classic movies.
We're like, I think I've heard of it. But I think didn't they remake Carmen Jones as like a cartoon?
No.
No?
They did a it wasn't they did like Beyonce did a long time ago, like a hip opera, which is.
And she played Carmen Jones.
She played a character name. I think her name was Carmen, but it didn't quite have the same impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
When you say Beyonce and that, like, I feel like.
Yeah, it was like at the very beginning of her career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember that. But other remakes. So, because we're already on the topic of a remake. There's a remake that you casted for that's coming to America too.
That's not a remake. That's a sequel.
I mean, oh yeah, sequel. Okay. Well, like I think, I'm sorry, I don't know all the terms, y'all. But when I see it come back out, to me, I think it's like, so this one is a sequel.
This is the sequel.
Not a remake.
Obviously, it's 30 years later, but it's technically a sequel. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that I in the storyline had a baby mama. He's gonna come back and look for his kid.
I mean, I think it'll be very, very. I hope that it'll be well received. I know it's a lot of anticipation and high expectations because of it. Because it was, that movie was so iconic, and they've been playing it like crazy on one of these AMC or something. I have watched Coming to America, the original one, at least 3 times in the past month.
I know I watched it already twice over the whole pandemic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they've been playing it, and I think in anticipation because they know the sequel is coming out.
Yeah.
I was going to say, as a casting director, how much pressure do you feel to cast correctly? You know what I mean?
You want to get it right. You definitely want to get it right. You don't want to, because people will, the first thing they'll say is the cast. If the cast is great, casting directors never get the credit. It's the producers and the directors who get the credit. And if the cast is horrible, somebody will be like, well, who cast that? Why would they put her in that movie? And it's just like the same person that cast the good people are the same people that cast. And what they don't realize, I think, about casting directors is, yes, we do have, I'm sorry, I keep moving around with this damn thing on my head. But I think that the biggest misconception is that people think that casting directors are the ones that actually put you in the movie. We bring the talent to the producers and the director, and who ultimately make the decision. So we may be fighting passionately for somebody that won't get the job. And then it's just like, oh, well, why would they put that person in the movie? Well, most of the time, it didn't have anything to do with me, because if we'd have cast who I wanted for the movie, it may have been a different movie, or the project. So I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about what, casting director does.
I do want to piggyback off that, right? So obviously, guys, I'm her son. And I've seen you actually work. Like, even when I remember Empire was starting, you did a lot more than what somebody would think a casting director would typically do.
Yeah.
And that being said, it's just like, do you feel like casting directors are underappreciated?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Because at the end of, there's some, what's an interesting film, and I don't know if you guys have had the chance to watch, but you should watch it if you can. It's called Casting By.
Okay. Where's it at?
I think it's on Amazon, and it basically, there's interviews with a bunch of very, iconic casting directors who have cast movies that you just, just almost from the beginning of our career, when it actually started. And in fact, I met with Meg Lieberman, who is an executive over at CBS. I just met with her last week about some upcoming projects that they have over there, and we had a conversation about casting and how she asked me how I got into it, and I explained it to her, and she said, she actually got into it similar, but not the same way. Her mother was a casting director. Her mother cast Happy Days, like some of the most stuff that I grew up watching, and I just was like, I not really a fan moment, but just like, oh my God, like her, you know what I mean? So I say that to say I didn't know I do feel like our job is really underappreciated, because in a sense we're producers, if you will, because we're putting together the talent at the beginning of the project before it starts. You know, we're coming up with ideas, we're collaborating with the producers and the directors about how we see these characters come to life, and we're the ones who actually see the words come to life first, even before the director or the producers, because we're auditioning the actors.
Oh, true.
First.
When you think about it, yeah.
Right.
Reading
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I got a big issue because I love the movie The Butler. And a bunch of shows and movies that you've done. And my issue has always been, why are casting directors not nominated for Oscars?
That is weird, huh?
Well, that's something that we're working on, to be perfectly honest with you. We, well, first of all, let's just talk about a union. Casting directors, we just got it into a union probably, I don't even think it's been 15 years. Maybe. For sure. Maybe. I know that because of what we do, a lot of people they don't necessarily, I think people in certain positions don't necessarily respect what we do until they have to do it. And then they're like, oh, it's not just picking an actor, you know, because it's so much more than that. We don't just pick actors, you know, we have to really truly find the person that is going to be the most honest and tell the story in association with all the rest of the characters. It's just so much more so much more detail to it than that. It's not as simplistic as a lot of people think. But to go back to what you were saying, yes, I do think we're underappreciated, and I think that we're underrated. And I think with the Oscar situation, I know that they are definitely working on that. I know the BAFTAs had, which is the British Academy Awards, or their version of their Academy Awards, they've just introduced casting as a category. So now casting directors can be nominated for BAFTAs. In fact, they just put the United States versus Billie Holiday is up. Well, they put the casting category up in the BAFTA. Now, I don't know if we'll get chosen or not, but we are at least hopefully we're being considered in the BAFTAs. Now, for here, I think we have, in the United States of America, I think we have a little more ways to go. They're at least now accepting casting directors as a peer group in the Academy, whereas before they didn't even allow that. Like, casting directors couldn't even be Academy members.
This quarantine, or while we've been stuck in the house, I feel like you helped me, and I think I had told you that when you did the monologue.
Monologue
helped
Monday
me
thing.
have a greater appreciation for just the process of acting, like getting to sit and watch people audition, and like I was sitting at home trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what makes them good, and what doesn't make it good, and who is she gonna pick? Because I don't really understand, but she's crying on camera, and I feel like I want to cry with her, so she must be good. So, like, when you're casting and stuff, what makes a good performance in your eyes?
Truthfulness, honesty. I think if I'm watching an actor and I believe them, that's honesty, that's truth. I think that is the best, one of the best qualities, obviously, that you can have as an actor, is just being honest and being able to tell that, connect to the character. So you can, because that's the thing, if you have no connection to the characters, then it's not going to be believable, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't think I don't think it's rocket science to figure out who is a good actor and who is a bad actor. I think it's all sort of subjective, you know? I see actors that I don't necessarily think are the strongest, that somebody else might think is the end all be all. Just like, I don't understand their success. Like, to me, they're just mediocre. There's a lot of them out there, but it really just depends on I guess, the market for what the project, there's so many different, moving parts to making a picture and why somebody is chosen. So, it's all subjective.
Yeah.
Do you think that social media and people being like influencers have kind of like changed the scope of acting and people getting chosen for certain roles?
I think that if the social influencers, there's definitely a space for that. There are people that you hire that are social influencers sometimes to come on television programs or in films, but you're hiring them for that. You're not hiring them for their acting skill.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean? That's just a fact. You're hiring them because you know that they have a following, and you're hoping that that following is going to translate to what you're casting them in or what you're putting them in. Now, I will say this. There are some social media influencers who have used that platform to basically just, I guess, expand their brand.
Yeah.
But really started in acting, and so it's just like, okay, I'm an actor, but right now I'm not getting the auditions. So, and this was again in the beginning, sort of the beginning of like what was that, Vine? Like because Vine was
Vine
before.
started out all those skits and stuff.
Yeah, so I think Vine, and then obviously it moved into Instagram,
right.
And then Vine sort of just disappeared, right? But I think that a lot of those Viners were making these like little skits, and some of them were actors, and they were getting the attention by doing those, kind of like TikTok is right now.
Right.
Yeah, but I think TikTok's turning into like that new,
Yeah,
like this is where you
so
like get discovered.
I think what happened is that you have some people that take it serious, and then some people who just like, they make a ton of money on their social media presence. They don't care about the craft of acting. They don't, and can you make a lucrative career in social media influencing? And yes, you can. If you want to be an actor, you have to take acting classes because okay, and I'm gonna say this. When I look at certain shows, because BET uses a lot of social influencers on some of their programming. You know what I mean? So when they do that, you can tell, outside of knowing that who they are, because obviously you've seen their social media presence, but when you see them opposite actors,
you can tell.
It just it's like you have to cut away from them. You're constantly going to cut away from them, and it's just because they don't have the tools, they don't have the skills, they don't know where to draw from. You can't tell them this. You can't talk to them the same way you talk to an actor who understands layers and character breakdown and character arcs and story arcs. Like they don't and not that they can't learn it, but when you give someone direction and they don't understand how to. I
bet it creates some sort of friction, I could imagine. I feel like social media is kind of disrupting a lot of industries. And
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if I'm hiring a social media star or influencer, I'm hiring them for their presence, period.
Do you think that for them, like, a lot of them get into like the funny skits, but they could be serious actors.
There's like some
what
potential
I mean?
underneath there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you think that could potentially handicap them in the sense of, they're known for this ha-ha funny person, but on screen, maybe they do take classes and maybe they do have layers, but when people see them, all they think is the funny guy. Do you think that could like hinder them in a way?
No. I don't think so. I don't think so, only because I feel like if they're getting the proper training, then they're gonna, you know what I mean? If we're casting them and they understand that this is one thing and this is another, one platform and this is another platform, then I think they understand the difference. I think it's those that don't understand, like that don't take it serious. I know a bunch of social media influencers who have started taking acting classes because guess what? There is a need for, that presence, but when I'm bringing you in and I'm auditioning you and you're not booking, then the agents are like, okay, they're not actors. So if you want to compete with the Melvin Greggs of the world who, was an actor, started doing social media, and then use that platform to now, not to now, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really helped his career because that was something, but that was his plan. Do you understand?
Right.
Like he had a
presence.
he had a plan.
Yeah.
He had a clear plan. But then I do know some like King Kuron. I know he's in acting classes. I know that he takes it serious. I know that there are social media influencers who really take the acting portion of it serious because as much as they love the social presence and know that they can make money off of that, their heart is in this acting thing. And if that's really what they want to do, you have to be able to compete with the people that are trained.
Yeah. I think someone who did a great job doing that, my friend Woody the Great.
Yeah.
He did an amazing job like transitioning from like the Vine videos to creating like original content that was like engaging to now being this, the star of Power 2 and like
Exactly.
But then to me I felt like even if you saw him as a comedian, when you seen him in this new Power show, it's like, wait a minute, like this is a whole new person. Like so it's like
I think
he evolved into like
he definitely did, but I do think that with Woody too, I think that he, even though, he started off, I think, in the, more people know him from the social media of it all. I think when he made a dramatic turn was when he played Bobby Brown in the New Edition story. And I think from there, again, when you have someone, because there are people that have raw talent, there are people who there's something about them that's raw and they have instincts that sometimes actors who have trained for years don't have. You know what I mean? There's nuance and stuff that you can't teach certain people. Some people have that. Like I will say that Woody is one of those people. And even I met with him like really early on, and he was. I kept telling him, I said, listen, you are so talented because you not only can do comedy, but you can do drama. And doing both believably and convincingly and well is really hard. You know what I mean? You either do one really well, you can, some people do both, but I think to do both of them well, is really, really a tough thing to do. I don't necessarily know too many comedians that can convincingly be dramatic actors, and he is really, one of them, and he there's a space for him. You know what I mean? He's gonna always work. I think he'll be one of those young performers that will always work. I think, and there's a few of them will, and thank God, because, it was, for a minute there were really no new up-and-coming black actors in that age range that really meant anything. You know what I mean? In terms of names, Yeah.
I wanted to actually bring it back to the theme of Black history.
Yeah, go for
it. No, this is which we're gonna go off of a little bit. So, obviously at home, I know some of the things you get considered for as far as film goes. So what do you say about people who think that you are just in a lane for black films, or that if you're a black casting director or you're a black director, you have to stay in that lane? Like, do you think that that's kind of just like?
No, I don't. I think if you're, first of all, we're casting directors and we cast talent, and talent, you don't have to be black or white or Asian or whatever to cast talent. I think that it's sort of it's just an open playing field, if you will. But I think what the issue comes up when you have, there aren't as many black casting directors as there are, white casting directors. That's just a known fact. Okay, that's just what it is. So what ends up happening is, or what it used to be is that when they had black stories, when they had black projects, they would go to the black casting directors. That's just, and then something shifted. And I don't know, what happened, but something shifted and jobs for, different projects started going to white casting directors. So not only are they casting their shows that we don't even get considered for, now they're casting, they're removing the opportunity for black casting directors to now cast our own stories. So that's where the lines get kind of like, I have mixed feelings, because while I do think that we can all cast all projects, because we don't get the same opportunities as they do, like we don't go up for the blockbuster movies. It just doesn't happen. I mean, there's Victoria Thomas, but she's the only black casting director to date that has ever done like major blockbuster movies. And yes, there's, we've done the Too Fast, Too Furious, like, that was like a great opportunity, but it didn't continue. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like we'll get that opportunity and it's just like, okay, they'll throw out diversity. And it's like, okay, so we'll meet with these casting directors, but ultimately it will go to one of our white peers. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's why now I feel so strongly about, like, when I see movies come out that are like major black movies, like the Black Panther, and just recently, or that's about to be released, Judas and the Black Messiah. It really gets me. I get so upset because I'm like, why aren't we getting these opportunities? Why aren't we meeting on these projects? We are not casting, the.
I mean, you have the right to feel how you feel.
You know what I mean? And it's just, and that's what really, really bothers me, because I just feel like, yes, we should all be able to do it, but because we don't get the same opportunity, then when those stories do come along, we should be considered for it, and we're not even meeting on those projects. Like, like, how do you make Judas in the Black Messiah about Fred Hampton, the founder, or one of the founders of the Black Panther Party, and not meet with a black casting director to make that movie? That, it infuriates me when I think about that. And not that she didn't do a good job, but shit.
Yeah.
I know 4 casting directors who could have did the same exact job.
Yeah.
But they're not getting that opportunity. Same with Black Panther. I think Sarah Finn, is cast Black Panther. She did an amazing job. But
why was no one black even
considered? We're not getting those meetings.
Yeah.
And I think that is that's really the big question. Why aren't we? Yeah, you can throw around the diversity, but at the end of the day, we'll take a meeting to say, oh yeah, well, we met with them, but we're going to go with this person.
Yeah, I think that's like how that whole, like, we took a meeting, and I think that's like across a lot of platforms, like diversity for African Americans in the film industry is just, it's like, I don't know, I kind of feel like even just like dabbling in, it's like it's like they throw us a bone, but they're not actually trying to feed us. Like,
well, and that too, because I do feel like, listen, we could be talking about this forever, and I don't really want to get that deep into it, but it's not just white producers either. You know what I mean? They're black producers. Like, the whole Judas and the Black Messiah were black producers, a black director. Yeah. Like, nobody thought, should we have a black casting director?
Do you think? Do you think
true,
that being
though,
said, that it's a thing of and I know this is whatever, but do you think that they even know any black casting director? I know it's a dumb question, but
yes, I do think that they know. I think that sometimes in the back of our minds we think, oh, well, we should get this casting director because this casting director has done these types of movies before, and so she's going to get us a better talent. At the end of the day, we all are pulling from the same talent pool. No, you know what I mean? It's not like we all know the same agents. We all know the same actors. If you're a casting director and you're not like keeping up with when showcases, talent showcases, or when you have like the Tisch, when they have their graduating class of showcases, like that's where the new budding talent comes from. And there's so many when you go to these showcases, you learn these same actors. So for me, it's like they're not doing anything differently. It's just we don't get those same opportunities. And so it's important. I'm constantly talking about it. People are like, oh, well, I work a lot. I work more than most black casting directors. Do you know what I mean? There's me, there's Kim Harton, there's Victoria Thomas, there's Kim Coleman, and there's Twinkie Bird. And that's really independently. Yeah. There's other casting directors that are working, in executive positions, but when you think about who's casting movies and television independently as black casting directors, it's us. And there's so many more. And there are so many other of our counterparts that are not black that just, again, they just get those opportunities. And it's so frustrating because, when, because I met on a really big project, and actually 2 really big projects recently, and they both went to white casting directors. Right. And they both had
black projects, or telling black stories, or
okay, so one is a more I would say it's diverse. Okay. But they want people of color. People of color generally means black or Latin.
Oh, okay, okay.
You know what I mean? That's really that. I'm just going to call it what it is.
Okay.
When they say that they want people of color, that's what they want. The other project was a really, wasn't like a huge project, but it was going to be an important project. And I met on both of them and had really good meetings and with the directors, right? And the directors were, like I said, like they're black directors, great meetings. The white producers are the ones who I didn't really have anything in common with, right? 60-year-old men who have, again, produced some of the largest blockbuster movies in Hollywood. And I didn't expect to have anything in common with them. But when I'm sitting across from a young black director, and, it's just like, okay, so this is the brother that's going to give me the opportunity because he knows that I can do it. I've been doing it for 30 years. You would think that it's the white producers that are saying, hey, well, let's go with, this person. But a lot of times that black producer may think, that white is right.
Or that they'll get what they need if they go to the white producer over the black producer.
And it's unfortunate because it happens a lot.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. And so that's the part that is frustrating when I say, oh, yeah, they're giving us the meetings, but a lot of times it's our own people that are not supporting ourselves, that are not supporting us.
And it's like, I was going to say, do you think that the solution is, because, sometimes always they say the solution is to start your own and build your own out of it, but do you think that would even be a solution to it?
Well, they are building their own. When you have black filmmakers that's making movies and then they're still hiring white casting directors, shit, they are doing it. They hiring us. And I don't hear the thing. And people are like, oh, where you're working and it doesn't really affect you. It does affect me because it affects the people that are coming up behind me. No, not directly.
Yeah, that's what
Do
I'm
you know
saying.
what I mean?
It's the humbleness
'cause that's
to
what I
know
was-
that what you're doing now is going to affect the generation underneath you.
Yes.
And if you just sit still and you don't say nothing about it, then when the young casting director, black young casting director is trying to be where you are, they're going to get the same door shut in their face because you allowed it to happen.
Exactly.
Well, and on top of that too, it's like, what about the ones who want to push to do more than black film?
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like for them, the young Leah who's 20 something years old, and she's like, I want to produce the Avengers. I mean, I want to cast the Avengers. It's just like, how could she even know that? Okay, that's possibility.
That's a possibility when
if she can't
when
see
she
it.
doesn't see it, and that's the thing. And I'm always like, some of my colleagues say, well, we don't really want to make waves, like let's just listen. If me talking about this is going to prevent people, producers or directors, from not working with me, they wouldn't hire me no way.
But I think it takes someone strong-willed to be able to do that and say that. And I will thank God that He gave you the will to be that voice. And it takes a strong
But I didn't
person
used to
do
always
that.
be that way.
Yeah.
I was very thankful. I was like, there were times when I was just happy to be at the happy. Oh, I'm getting in this meeting. I take a meeting on most of the projects, even projects I know I'm not going to get. I take meetings because I take the meeting because I want to know the producers. I want to build those relationships. But at the end of the day, I know I'm not going to get those jobs.
I think that's smart though, to like what you just said, like you take the meeting even if you know you're not going to get it, just so that you could get in that room and build the relationship.
Yeah, because I want them to, and I'm very vocal, like that's probably why I didn't get the one job, because when we were talking about ideas, I was very vocal about it. It's like, oh, well, who do you, the lead character was a black guy and the nemesis was a white guy in his, 40s or 50s. And I had some other ideas, we talked about them a little bit. And I said, but quite honestly, a 40-year-old white actor in Hollywood is not really that hard to find. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, that's not the character I'm worried about.
Right.
I'm worried about finding this 30-year-old black guy.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Is it hard sometimes? And I know we're almost wrapping, y'all. But is it hard sometimes for you finding the black characters that you need?
Yes, sometimes. Like right now, I'm working on a project that's really, really tough. It's a Netflix show. It's a young adult drama. It's kind of like, I don't want to say it's a vampire young adult drama, but it's set in the real world. Not like because I don't want to like compare it to anything that's on like the CW or because it's not
like
that
Vampire Diaries.
it's not that at all. It's definitely more grounded. And one of the characters is a young black queer female. And I'm having a lot of trouble with that role. And I've, come to find that it really is just because if they're that age category right now, they're good. They're probably already working. Mm-hmm. So that right there takes, all those girls that I would normally come, they're working. Or they're not comfortable with the material, with being, playing queer or being in a same-sex relationship. And then, or they just don't have the skill set. And it's not that they don't want to learn or that they, can't learn, but they don't, again, they're not given the same opportunities to be leads on shows.
So they can get the experience.
So they can get the experience.
That's crazy. I mean, I feel it's crazy, but it's unfortunately like what we have to deal with. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of something when you're coming into like entertainment industry or whatever. I think even like for myself as a host or for Damari, for all of us, like we kind of just already know like we're going to have to deal with this stuff. How are we going to deal with it? Mm-hmm. And it does feel good to sit and hear someone someone like you say, but I'm fighting for you.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what we're doing. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you have to, like, I have 2 black casting associates in my office, and I have, a white casting associate, and it is important for me, again, to really just pay it forward. I want them, like, I know for without a doubt, the white associate, if and when they ever decide to leave my office, they're gonna fly. Okay. Only because of the credits that they have gotten while under my office. Those black associates are gonna have trouble. They're not gonna have this, and that's just, it's unfortunate. It's just what it is. I've seen white associates work on 1 or 2 projects and then go on to either be, studio executives or, and again, I don't want to put like so much on race. But it's just what it is.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like you just got to be real about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like there's no way to beat around the bush around any of it. You just got to, I don't know, you just got to be real. Like,
yeah.
And
I don't want jobs because I'm black. I want jobs because
I'm good.
I'm capable of doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I definitely want, if I don't get a job that I've met on, and it goes to another black casting director, I'm genuinely happy for them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, damn, I'm so glad that they got it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the truth, because I'm just glad that it didn't go to someone, a non-black person, because then you have issues like, other things where they're releasing breakdowns and they're describing
in a way that's offensive, or
because they don't understand colorism.
Yeah.
They don't but if you hired somebody black,
they would have got it done right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
you won't be in trouble when you're talking about,
Yeah, I hope and pray that, like, as and you can only just hope and pray, but like that as we continue to grow and we continue to evolve, and just in the world in general, that more black stories will be told by black people, will be written by black people, will be casted by black people, so that we can have a pure, authentic black story put out there. Because I think there's a lot of powerful black stories that are out here right now that it was a white person who wrote the story, and a white person who directed the story, and a white person who produced it, but put 2 black faces out front. And it's like, well, how can that be a pure black story? And how were you able to even tell that black story when you didn't even have a black lens in the writer's room?
Yeah, that too. When you think about Black Panther too, that's one of those stories where you have all the, every black person in the world was just so proud of. Yeah, and listen, and it was a very powerful, presence to see that, it was so amazing to look at. And then you just go on IMDb Pro and start looking at the people that were department heads that were behind this movie, and how the studio pushed it as, this is a positive black thing, and we have this black director, and you have this black costume designer, and you have this black set designer, and that's it. Everybody else is white. Oh. I had no clue. And everybody else is white.
I remember I always used to hear all the like back end stories of Black Panther, and like even though it's like you feel proud and you feel all these things that kind of like inside, especially someone working, like you're like, well, damn, like when do we get the chance to tell our own stories wholeheartedly?
Yeah, and, with everything.
With everything, from the beginning to the end, like, we told it, we casted it, because we know what to look for. We really know what that auntie looks like and how she's going to feel and talk and act and all these things. Well, I feel like, I don't know, we've talked about so many different things, and so I'm so glad that we got to even have all these conversations. Before we do wrap up, I do want you to be able to let anyone who's out there, maybe you can figure out which realm you want to go, because you have so many different avenues of LDB casting, the writer's mob, you have like all these great opportunities for creatives. So I just wanted to make sure that people know how they can
okay, so you mean social?
Well, however you want people to get in contact with you, if you want them to just reach out social.
She doesn't. Don't contact her. As her son, do not contact her.
Then you can just share what opportunities are available, and they can figure out how they need to do what they need to do.
I mean, well, okay, so I think we have a production company, which is 195, and we produced 2 movies last year, and we're actually in the process. We're in post on one of the movies, so we're looking for distribution right now, and I think we're really close to a couple of different platforms for that movie. It's called Survival, and The Writer's Mob is probably another platform that if you're like a potential writer, you can. That's at Writers Mob LA, I think. At the number 190 spelt out, and then the 5, and it's a little tricky. Obviously, there's LDB Casting. These are all social handles, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you still doing the Monologue Mondays?
We're actually getting back into it. Okay. So I'm I just had to. I started working again, so it was really difficult when I'm working, and then to do the monologue, it took up a lot of time. So, yes.
Well, everyone just follow the pages, and then I'm sure information gets posted on there all the time. Well, thank you so much, Leah, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Disco, we already know.
Yep.
And thank you guys, everyone out there, for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time on Knowledge is Key.